Teachers and staffers returned to the Florida high school today, where a gunman shot and killed 17 people last week. Students will return to Marjory Stoneman Douglas on Wednesday. The state's Republican Governor Rick Scott is calling for a ban on firearms to anyone under the age of 21. He also wants a trained law enforcement officer in every school by the time the 2018 school year begins. All of that could very well just be white noise to parents and students who are figuring out how to make sense of shootings in our schools. Today, WUSA 9 anchor Jan Jeffcoat sat down with a group of parents and a psychologist. We wanted to know what families are talking about at home and how moms and dads should be talking about such a sensitive topic with their kids.
My goodness, what a terrible week it's been for so many families, so many parents who have kids in school, who have to have these conversations, these terrible, horrific conversations with their children. We have a group with us right now of ladies who have children in the D.C. area in school right now, as well as Dr. Gadia Smith, who's going to kind of help us navigate some of the discussions that we've had with our children and the best way to handle some of these discussions. Nisa, I want to start with you. You have a 13-year-old and an 11-year-old. How are you dealing with this topic at your house?
They're pretty much aware of what's going on. So we have a conversation. We sit down at the dinner table. We talk about it so that we address it as opposed to hiding it.
Show of hands, how many here their children brought up the topic to them? Okay. Brooke, yours did not. Are they aware?
He was not aware until this latest incident happened, and this is my first time actually telling him that something like this does occur. He does have drills at school, but he had no idea what they were for and what they were about. But this last incident, I actually sat down and told him, okay, you know, we pray every morning, so we need to pray for the state of Florida because something bad happened there. And just like Lisa, I was just very upfront, and I said someone went into the school, they had a gun, and they shot a lot of kids, and a lot of kids died. And he did gasp like, oh my gosh, but he didn't ask any questions, and I didn't let him know that it is an epidemic, that it has happened several times, because I wasn't sure how much he could actually understand. He's 8, and I think he understands what it means to be shot, I think. But he has been very sheltered, so he may not even understand what that meant, but I felt like it was my responsibility at least to mention it to him.
Doctor, I want to know, how much information should we be telling our children, and is there an age at which we tell them more?
Well, if they are bringing it up, then we need to talk about everything that we know and be honest and straightforward. It's in the news, it's in the media, they're going to see it, their friends are going to be talking about it, so we can't really shelter them from it. It's out there. We don't need to go into the gory details, but you know, we do need to talk about the facts and what's happened and the reality of the situation.
How do you tell it without telling all the details?
You talk about the fact that someone who was very sick came into the school and shot children, and that people have died, and that this is a great tragedy, and emphasize the fact that although there is real danger, it's remote, and that it's not likely to happen to them, but they need to understand what's happened because they're going to hear about it. Their friends are going to be talking about it, and you want to communicate with them as much as you can before they are out there talking to other people. And if they have feelings about it, it's very important to let them process their feelings, give voice to their feelings, help them to articulate their feelings, and not carry them and submerge them inside. You want to help bring out their feelings about all of this and model how to process difficult things. If you're a parent who's very anxious, you first want to make sure that you're checking your own level of anxiety and addressing your own issues, because you want to be able to model character, courage, and strength to your children.
What do you tell those parents who have kids who might not want to go to school because they do have fear? What do you tell your child?
You tell your child that there are a lot of good people who are working hard to protect you, and children are emotionally attuned to the emotional state of the parent. You assure them that people are out there protecting them, and that while the danger is real, it's remote.
Cassandra, are you afraid of your daughter going to school? Do you have fears? Do you feel like she's safe enough?
Do I have fears? I would be lying if I said I didn't. with everything in the news. Yes.
What about you, Ivy?
I also enjoy the community that we're in at our school, and I think that they do a lot to protect the kids. But even there, which is a private institution, we had an incident of a child bringing a knife into the school. The school handled it swiftly, they handled it effectively, but it's still a fear because you don't know what caused that to happen. And then to hear afterwards that some of the children heard rumors, that he made comments, he said things that gave an indication that this was going to happen, and none of the children spoke up. So also having that conversation with my son and with his friends, that even if it sounds small, even if it sounds insignificant, that you need to share that. And if you're not comfortable sharing it with a teacher or a counselor, to share it with me so that we can inform the appropriate authority.
Some terrific advice and insight there, and we're going to continue this conversation coming up in our next half hour.